Good morning, Patreon. Um, typically I answer a question from one of y'all, but that's not what we're doing this morning. What we're doing is having a little bit of a conversation based around our most recent MAG meeting and an excellent talk, a block of instruction that was given by my brother, the NWA Prepper, who was in attendance and who's an awesome human being. And if you're not following his channel, you are missing out on one of the best things on the internet. Not just because there's really good preparedness advice there, but because he's got a heart of gold and he really cares about people and he really goes out of his way to help. And so, bless you, brother. I love you. You're awesome. Thank you for being a part of my life. As I say, while I put trauma dressings in Bearfax in the barn, but the NWA Prepper gave an excellent talk that he told me afterwards, and he mentioned it several times during the talk as well. He said, this is not the block of instruction I had planned, but I feel like I need to say this. Pastor Joe did a video on this, and I feel like he kept everybody's names out of the video, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think enough time has passed in between when his video has posted and when this will post that we're not OPSECing ourselves at this point. But Pastor Joe in his video said, and I would concur, that was the best block of instruction he had ever had at one of these meetings, and he's been to, in his estimation, 100 of them. So, yeah, A++. What made it so good is what I'm getting at here. Why was it the best block of instruction? Well, first and foremost, it was so good because a brother had a conviction of the heart and acted on it in the moment. And so I want to make sure that we point that out and that we clap that up, because that is unfortunately these days way too rare of an occurrence, that somebody has a conviction of their heart and then acts on it in the moment. Not later today, not tomorrow, not next week, not, well, I'll put it on the chalkboard and we'll think about it at some other time when it makes sense to do it. No. Conviction of the heart in the moment. So that's really important, says me, and that's something that deserves to be applauded and deserves to be repeated. Instructionally, you guys should be aware of it. Hey, we got to go over here and get a roll of medical tape. I forgot to get a roll of medical tape for our kit. And boxes and boxes. Okie, that's your mead bottle who's on my barn floor that I need to give back to you. Stand by. Ugh. So, you're welcome. Text me. Come get it. Remind me to give it back to you. Let's go back over here. And, all right. So, yeah, following the conviction of your heart is something that should be applauded. And it's something that I want to shine light on for y'all, that it's not something we should be taking lightly. We should just be assuming that, yeah, everybody does it, or anyway. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And it's a big deal because the conviction of your heart, says me, comes from the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, right? And we can read in the Word that the Holy Spirit only tells us what the Father wants us to hear. It comes straight from the Father. Okay, that's kind of a big deal. So the Father told this brother to speak these words to us, and he was obedient and he listened. And as a result, it was the best presentation on such a topic that has ever been given in 100 times of hearing by none other than the Pastor Joe Fox of Viking Preparedness and myself. That deserves applause. That deserves praise. That is an illustration as to the power and effectiveness of heeding the still small voice. So that's the first part that I wanted to make sure that we didn't just, blush over that. The next is, and I don't know if he is going to do, he being the NWA prepper, is going to do a video on this or not. I know that he has been encouraged to do a video on this or not. Or not. He has been encouraged to do a video on this. Oh my gosh, there's a cat trying to kill my chickens. I was made for this moment. Where'd you go, you little feline bastard? I feel like occasionally I say words like bastard on camera, and then there's a certain subset of our viewers that like recoil. I can't believe Bear said that word. It's like Bear used to say all kinds of words. So, anyway. Noted. Cat, you will die. It's just a fluffy little kitty. Dead. Next. I don't know if the NWA prepper is going to talk about this on a video or not. And it will likely be weeks after our video or our mag meeting that this video posts. So it may already be out, and if it is, I'll link it in the description. But what he said was, to paraphrase, you need to identify what your thing is within the tribe, within the group, within your mag, okay? And the way he puts it is, what does your superhero cape say on it? When you tie on your cape to go rescue your brothers and sisters in your group, what is the thing that you do? And to use his illustration, he's a medical guy. And the talk that he was going to give was a talk on first aid, talk on medical. But see, the father used all the prep that he had done for that to help him make a point. Not to make NWA prepper's point, but to make the father's point. Because he had a large table filled with a considerable amount of medical gear, and then more of it on the floor for show and tell. The point that was made was not, hey, here's all the medical gear that I have, and you should set up your medical gear the same way, or learn something from the way I've done this, or so forth and so on. The point that was made was, look, and he didn't make this point, the Holy Spirit made this point, was look at the level of preparation that I've gone to, that if you get injured, we can help, because I'm the medical guy, okay? And that translated so well. Absolutely right, that translated. Man, that was incredible. And it was perfectly done. Of course it was perfectly done because the father was involved. But a picture says 1,000 words. So we've got a brother spilling his heart while he has a conviction from the Holy Spirit on him about how it's his job to be prepared for us to get injured, because that's what his superhero cape looks like. And the proof is in the pudding. And here's this table just covered with medical gear and more on the floor. And he's like, and this is what I take on a light day. And he's like, if you called me and was like, I've got a medical emergency right now, or we're going to go do some dangerous things, whether that's work or shooting or whatever, he's like, this is what I would bring, just basic totes, just to have at a basic level for medical. And it's like, this basic level exceeds the vast majority of preppers, medical preps, bar none. And so it proved his point without him having to say a word, and that was the brilliance of how the Father works. But the point that NWA Prepper was trying to make was that we all have our own superhero cape, and we should know what it looks like, and then we should act accordingly. And he used the example of me as the chainsaw guy. He said, I bet you in your truck right now there's a chainsaw and gas and oil and all. And I was like, yeah, man, all the things there is right now in my truck. There's a chainsaw and gas and 2-cycle oil and bar tools and round files and flat files and spare chains and a spare bar with spare chains to fit a different size bar, and then logging chain and come-alongs and ropes and rigging and tie downs and all the things, the PPE and all the things to run a chainsaw. Not just a chainsaw, but all the things associated with running a chainsaw are all in my truck right now, that if somebody needed chainsaw work, I don't have to think. Just hop in my truck and go. And that was one of the points that was made within the tribe. If that's the role that I fulfill, my stuff's already in there. And then I have a good, robust first aid kit, and I have Commo in my truck. Between that and my EDC, I'm good, right? And so I have set myself up to function and function well within the role that I've taken within my group. That's really important, because not everybody can be a shooter. Not everybody should be a shooter. And preparedness tends to focus on shooting first, and then everything else. And it's like, yeah, well, shooting solves your most immediate needs of protection. But it's very immediate. It's right now, here in the moment. Even if you are planning on or preparing for the likelihood or need to project deadly force in the future, it will still be utilized in the moment, okay? That's a different story for a different time. But people tend to focus on the shooting, the using of weapons, and the proficient using of weapons, which is good, but it's not the only thing. It's not the only thing. We've got seniors in our group, and we've got children in our group. We run the gamut from toddlers to people getting around on canes, legitimately. Not everybody runs a rifle, and so then it's like, well, what does your superhero cape look like if you're a lovely, talented, gray-haired lady in the group, right? And it's vitally important that you are, and that you're here. And this was a beautiful thing that our brother NWA Prepper did, was point out to people in the group, we need you in this group as a gray-haired senior lady that most people would say, no, not interested, can't run a AK-47. Who do you think's gonna feed you, homeboy? Who do you think's gonna repair the rips in your multicam? Who do you think, when you've had one of the worst days of your life, is gonna mom you, wrap you up in their arms and love on you because you need it, right? It was a very well done presentation, and it really hit the point home of, there is more to this lifestyle than just ACOGs and AR-15s and armor. A lot more to this lifestyle. And it drove home a point that I've made many times. A life should be worth living. If I'm going to continue existing on the face of this earth, I want there to be a purpose to my existence, and I want there to be joy to be found and fulfillment. And that joy and that fulfillment is based around, for me, being in service to my Creator and being in service to people that I love. And I love my mag group. I really do. They're my friends. They're family, right? Which is two different things. You're lucky if your family are your friends. And you're lucky if your friends are your family. So to have both, yeah, it's a really big deal. And so it takes all types. Maybe that's what I'll call this. It takes all types. And I would really encourage you as our brother NWA Prepper did. So think about when your brother calls you, what cape are you going to tie on, and what tools do you need on your superhero utility belt to do the job that you've appointed to yourself or your tribe has appointed to you. And that job is not always this, okay? It's not always that. Nor should it be. So that's just my thoughts for this morning. As I'm standing out here packing Bear Facts, thinking about that, I'm like, yeah, he's right. He's 1,000% right. It takes all types, and we're blessed to have all types. Shalom.